Welcome back, everyone, to our next episode of Thriving with AI. My name is Maria Matarelli, and I am here with Alistair Cockburn and Alisa Lorello. How are you guys doing today?
Great. How you doing?
Good. Yep.
Doing well. So there have definitely been some happenings in the world of AI since we last spoke. It's incredible to see all the latest. What are some of the things that we want to discuss today?
I've got two. One's a more longer term look at what programming looks like I think in the near future, some patterns are emerging. But the biggest thing is the way that AI is killing certain business models. And there was a blip that hit LinkedIn over the last couple of days, yesterday, today, that I'd like to bring up about business models being affected by these large language models being used. So that's my, let's say, fresh hot topic.
All right, awesome. And Elisa, what about you?
Yeah, I know for me, a lot of articles have been popping up about AI going wrong. So I think there's certainly a lot of news feed on that we can talk about, as well as some first movers. We're seeing some first movers, and how that's, impacting. Is it benefiting them? Are they seeing the benefits? So I think that's another kind of good area too today.
Ooh, I'm excited for that. AI gone wrong. And, one of the things I'm excited to talk about is looking at how AI is affecting the customer. We started to talk about that in one of our previous sessions, and there are more developments in that realm.
It was something about pricing, if I recall correctly. Is that right?
Surveillance pricing. Yeah.
Ooh,
Yes.
that's a key word.
Variable pricing depending on who's making the purchase and your purchase history to squeeze every last dollar out of the consumer.
I'm open to that as the starting topic because I don't know quite how that goes. Catch me
Okay.
up.
Yeah,
All
let's
right.
do it. So I always saw this article, and there was a whole study done by a group. And what they were finding is that they were looking at prices changing. And they started to do this study where they had multiple people come together at one location. So same IP address, same location, right? Same geographic area. And they had them just buying goods online, like Instacart, local grocery stores, right? And as people are placing orders, it's people in the exact same room placing orders at the same store, buying things at the same time, they're seeing a variance in the pricing. And so this has greater implications, right? Because companies are not supposed to be going off of whatever criteria like demographics or, different subjective reasons for charging certain customers more. So they actually expanded this to over 400 people buying online at the same time and saw a steady range, reached out to these companies, deny, 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 and then finally had some admissions that they're doing price testing. They called it, I think. They're doing price testing. What split testing, what price are people willing to pay? But here's the thing. The algorithms are now able to change, and the way it was phrased to get the maximum, find the maximum number of what someone's willing to pay based on their past purchase history. And the greater implication of this is that now, if you buy stuff regularly online, not only are companies squeezing more dollars and cents out of each individual, it's totaling millions of dollars of additional revenue. Is this ethical?
Wow.
Yeah.
So let me see if I may have read something a little bit connected that if they put three things in front of you and you happen to be a luxury buyer, so you go for the high end one because of whatever your reasons are, then in the future they'll feel comfortable bumping the price up. But if you're a budget buyer and you always take the lowest of the three things, I don't think they're ever going to lower the price, but maybe they will, whatever they do. But the main thing is if they find that you can go up, they'll present you the up things and maybe even jack up the price a bit because they know you aren't worried about the price.
That's one thing. However, they also had multiple people buying the same exact product, the
Mm,
same brand, same
mm,
price point, and
mm.
they just put all the receipts side by side and saw a great variance.
Wow.
But I
Yeah.
think for me, yeah, you talk about the ethical side of that because a lot of times when companies would do those types of tests, they're sampling, right? They're people are committing to knowing that they're being tested, or running those kind of psychological exam like this, if they're doing it real time with people's data without their consent and then charging them, that does seem really wrong.
Well, here's the other thing. They're talking about having digital pricing in stores. Have you guys heard of this? Where it'll actually
Yeah.
change a price as you pick it up in the grocery store. Like by the time you
My
get to the
God.
register, it might change pricing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's the world we're in right now. And so here's the thing, Elisa. I think you're right about, I mean, split testing in marketing has been a thing for a long time, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with trying to find what price are people willing to pay, but the software now being used by multiple different companies. Let's go with grocery stores right now because the tests were done with Instacart, right? They have a partnership with a technology company that is now able to do this variable pricing. And
Yep.
so now you have multiple stores all doing it as a
Right.
regular way of doing business always. Because as soon as,
Oh,
right? They're not just split
Well,
oh,
testing.
and that's the thing. So and then where does governance come into that? Because at that point, again, it's not supposed to be a location, region, but if they can't tell you the technology behind that or how they are randomizing that, right, there's
oh my
a lot
God.
of gray area there for a lot of unethical usage
Well,
and targeting demographics at that point.
I don't know if they could prove that they targeted by demographics because they were saying it was by buying behavior and like what's a customer willing to pay. But here's the thing, like once a company starts getting millions of dollars in extra revenue based on that, are they really going to stop, right? And
Oh
that's what
no,
the
no, no,
technology
no.
does.
Oh
But
no,
here's
no.
here's my concern. You have people that, I mean, the economy hasn't been the best, right? People are getting displaced from their jobs, and you have people that are genuinely struggling to make ends meet. And now companies are not only are they not looking at how to help the consumer and provide better quality products and services, they're trying to squeeze more dollars out of people, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Like, where's the ethics there? Where's the customer care?
Right, 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 right.
How does it end? That
And
one.
what all can this be applied to?
Yeah.
What other
Well, and
industries?
but the thing too, I mean, you say patterns, right? Even if it's tracking patterns by certain purchasing habits or patterns, it probably could deduct, right? Demographic, economics. And so again, overall, it's completely unethical because I mean, you've got your customer base you're not protecting. You are trying to squeeze money out of all of them, but it definitely, I personally feel like it still could be more concern of targeting too. And overall, I mean, that's a huge concern for everyone. Because someone during the holidays sent a meme says, "Dear Black Friday, we have enough TVs. Can you please discount groceries?"
Hilarious. That's a good one. That's a really good one.
But this plays into that, right? Because we're just
Yeah.
seeing the signs. People are probably seeing, oh, there's higher prices on some of this stuff. How does it get regulated? How do we know?
And
I
it's
see. I see
driving,
no way. I just don't see the angle on regulating that. That's where I'm stuck. I'm busy, quiet here, just like spinning wheels, going like, do I see any out? Right. That's the kind of thing.
and the other thing it's doing is it's causing other prices to be driven up because
Right.
other
Yeah.
companies are now raising their prices because they see. So at what point is this price collusion among these companies all using the same
Right.
platform for delivery?
So can I? I'll
That's
just be
true.
the cynic in the room just for a
Please.
moment.
Well, real
Um,
quick, I'm a big price matcher, so this does worry me.
Right.
Is that one of those who will go to like Amazon or go to Target and be like, here's Amazon's price, you need to adjust it.
oh, look at that.
Or Elisa, get interns to go do your shopping for you. Get college kids or students
That's
to
it.
now go
That's
buy your
it. That's the
stuff.
way around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Got to
Get
beat
the.
the system.
That's amazing. No, I was so this is a European view. I was living in Switzerland and went to buy a TV at some shop, and then I didn't buy, of course, the fancy TV. I bought the cheap TV, and there was something wrong with it, and I took it back, and I said, "There's something wrong with it," and they said, more or less, buzz off. What do we care? And my roommate was a Swiss guy, and he was completely unsympathetic. In his point of view, he said, businesses are fundamentally immoral and unethical. What do you expect? That was it. Like that was the sum total of his like level of sympathy for me. But it always stuck with me because when you watch them, these people who are like pro all of this or don't care, they go, businesses are fundamentally unethical. Of course they do that. That's what they do, right? And I go, yeah, that could be the case. It doesn't make it nice.
Right.
Well, it's like we had talked about. It's like, get a bucket of candy and sit it in front of a kid and say, okay, just regulate, only have, a few pieces and then
Yeah.
walk away. You're going to come back and there's
Oh,
going to
that's
be
it.
wrappers everywhere and chocolate all over their face.
Yeah, it's the corporate example or parallel of leaving a kid with a bucket of candy, giving
Right.
them
Yeah.
AI
Right.
technology. Like,
Yeah.
are they going to be responsible?
Yeah. No. I'm sorry. I'm the cynic. When I teach my classes sometimes is I tell them, I'm going to give you all the bad news in the morning. And if you run away screaming at lunchtime, I promise you don't have to pay for the course. If you come back after lunch, then I'll show you how to live with that. And then you have to pay for the course. So I go, no, you're not going to change your organization and they're not going to do this and they're not going to write the tests and they're not going to do this and they're not going to do that. And people go like, ah, God, I came here. You HR guys were optimists. I go, no,
Right.
This also makes me think too, Maria, like, again, AI technology is supposed to, get things more efficient, right? Help companies save money. And I go back to like self-checkout. I hate self-checkout. It's one of
then
those things like,
okay, I'm going to
because
call you.
I'm doing your job and I'm not seeing any savings. Where is the savings for self-checkout? And I'm even seeing now companies are starting to charge for shopping bags. So if you don't bring your bags, so
Oh,
we're just
no.
seeing more and more, pushed off onto the customer. The, customer service of the past,
I'm with you.
is
I'm with you
fading
on the
fast.
I'm with you on the I hate self-checkout, but you started that. Sorry, I was listening to you, Elisa. My apologies. But you you started off by saying AI is supposed to, no, AI is not supposed to anything.
Well,
AI,
that's how they present it. Like, right, we're going to implement this because we're getting efficiency, save money in the
yeah,
company. But the
yeah.
company is saving money. It's just that that's never transitioned
Well,
or passed on to the customer.
so we started that last time, which is that internally inside companies, they're crazy for this thing because it allegedly makes all of the workers more efficient. When you go outside of the company, and this will bring us to the Wendy's McDonald topic, right? When you
Hmm.
go outside the company, the people aren't asking for it. They aren't suffering for the absence of it. So that when you say the promise is that it'll get a company internally more efficient, none of that is means that the consumer will be happier.
Or get the benefit of, see the
Or get the
benefit, or feel
benefit,
the benefit of that,
or
right?
feel the benefit, which gets us straight into McDonald's and Wendy's. Who's got that one?
Me, yeah. So last time we had talked about when I went and brought my son and his friends to get Wendy's. They have the AI technology up there, and McDonald's had tried to do an early release as a first mover, and had ran into some issues, and so they are gearing back up. An article just came out that they're gearing back up to release that again. So it'll be interesting to see how they roll that out versus Wendy's. I think is probably which really ultimately became the first mover who stuck it through, seem to run through a lot of problems initially with like customer base. And not to say that there was another news article that Wendy's was had like a $300 million loss. So not to attribute that AI, but I think maybe their thoughts internally as a company was AI could maybe have helped and support that, but they've got, I guess, low performing stores. So did some of that AI technology release impact some of that? I guess that's still to be determined.
So
But
now,
again, back to customers, like, were the customers ready for that? Or and if they rolled it out without a solid plan to help their customers, or did they just expect everybody to like self checkout just adapt? But even in self checkout, you've got like a couple of people there, leads that are supporting and helping people, use those machines. So
do you know anything more about the McDonald's story? I remember we kind of talked about, I thought it was like about 2 months ago or something. It was getting the orders wrong and mangling everything, and they had to like shut it off. And you're saying
yeah,
that they came out with a fresh version of it now that's maybe working better or
that's what the
something?
article said, that yeah, they're going to be rolling out this year a new version of that.
Do they have yet? Are they talking about the completely devoid of any human stores, or they still have like a couple of people double checking on it, or, doing things, or what?
Yeah, I didn't get that far into it, but that may be something to, yeah, I'll take a look at that, and next time we can deep dive that a little bit more to see.
Hmm.
And honestly, I think until they probably launch it, we probably won't know some of that.
Well, and Elisa, I remember that video you sent of your user experience at Wendy's. It
Yeah,
was such a long, painstaking video to watch. Like you literally placed your order and then it asked you one line at a time, would you like to add this? Or would you like this? Or, and it took so long. Like, what
I
was
know.
your user experience?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's what, because we talked about that and I filmed that and sent that to you guys so you guys could see what I was talking about, but exactly that. It just seems like whoever created that workflow probably doesn't order Wendy's or eat at their own store, because it didn't follow a progressional order of how you would actually order. And then if you're trying to, because I have a bunch of teenage kids who have every kind of customization, so it wasn't like a number one, number two. It was like a number one without this, with this, and all different kind of variations. And it's painfully sticky. It's just so hard to customize stuff on those screens. And as the system kept trying to take you through the order and the process, to eventually the point, if you heard in the end, finally a human came onto the speaker and had to just like recorrect the whole order. And then, it was like, okay, just come up now. So,
I wonder if someone was thinking that they were adding in upsells as they went. Like, oh, we'll just have the computer ask, do you want this? Do you want to add this? Right? Like it might have been a feature, right?
maybe, but it didn't seem, I mean, as you saw in it, wasn't necessarily like because honestly, more oftentimes a human will upsell, right? Remember you go, oh, do you want to, what was it, make that upsize that or big, whatever. I can't remember the terminology that they use, but at McDonald's, but certainly, right, the system wasn't trying to do that. It was just like, okay, here's your hamburger. Okay, what's your drink? What's your side? It didn't seem like there was really any sort of
Now,
upselling in
was
that.
this at one of those screens you were doing this, or was this at a drive-through?
This is at a drive-through, so it was just all voice. So it was no
Oh
Verbal.
my
screen.
God. Oh
Yeah.
my God. And where was this? Here in St. Pete?
No, it's here in Oldsmar in Tampa.
Wow.
Actually, Tampa. It's over in Tampa.
Tampa's like
Yeah.
Tampa's the new Kansas City. Everything's up to date in Kansas City. You don't know that one?
Oh, good job.
Gone about as far as they could go. They're talking to it's in Oklahoma, and they're talking about how everything's up to date in Kansas City, and how high the skirts are going. You can see people's ankles and knees and how, right? So that's the thing.
Revolutionary.
Revolution is they're gone about as far as they
Like the
could
AI
go.
revolutionizing it.
I
Right.
feel like Tampa and Oldsmar is like the new Kansas City.
So what we're missing here, it seems, is the user experience being validated, maybe,
Yeah.
or I'm wondering how many stores they rolled it out to with that.
Correct. And because they were saying that they're closing all these stores because they're underperforming, but are they underperforming because they tried to be a first mover and implemented AI? I haven't seen anything else. I tried to research it since our last conversation, and all that has just come out is just the articles about them closing stores and lost and kind of attributing it to other things. I think it was like market interest, food interest.
So the
But it'd be fascinating to really understand if AI had
they
a
don't
part of
they
that.
none of that's coming out, but I'm remembering now the blip that I read is the sales were flat, but nothing that would indicate this need to do a $300 million cut. So it's not that their sales were down by 300 million. So the article, I read two articles, I scanned them really
Ah,
fast.
okay.
And they were a little bit perplexed because they said actually, the actual if you look at the sales was flat, but it's not like it went down 300 million.
Ah.
So,
Well, and
so
also, wouldn't we see other fast food restaurants closing if it was just that people aren't getting fast food?
Right.
right, right.
One might imagine.
Well, restaurants are getting squeezed. I know someone in the restaurant business, and the problem is that the labor prices are going up, the food costs are going up, but people have a price point they're not willing to go past, and so
Yeah.
they're really, really getting squeezed that way. So, but as you point out, why Wendy's is doing this and not like everybody.
And I agree with that too, but I'd also say probably branding has a play in that and also the quality of food. Because if you go to Chick-fil-A at lunch, they don't look like they're suffering. The lines are
Right.
Right.
beyond. So, yeah, so
Branding,
I agree with Maria. I mean, if it was just a fast food thing,
you'd be
you
everywhere.
would see other
Yeah.
restaurants have that impact. So
Curious whether AI is a driver inside of that. All right,
yeah,
and mine, all right, so my topic, I've got two topics, but this one is I'm going to read this because I took a screen snapshot. There's a company called Tailwind, and they do UI things, whatever, widgets or whatever. But the problem is, let me just find out here. Pardon me for a split
they're
second.
open source, right?
Open source. Is this the one? Um, okay, I got it ready so I could read you. Let me see. The commentary was, oh, here's my notes to you guys. I go, AI systems, us AI bots know all about Tailwind and they can generate code without the developer ever visiting the documentation or the site. So these guys had a freemium model where they would do something, right? And then you would pay for something. You know, old school, been there for 20, 30 years. Give them something for free and let them upsell. But now the AI bots are doing reading, are scraping their website and doing all the reading and then doing the generating for the developer. And so the developer never goes to get it. So here's the I want to read the blip. Um, the CSS library is more successful than ever, more downloads per month. The company behind it is struggling and literally had to lay off 75% of its employees yesterday. According to Adam Waltham, the founder, revenue is down 80%, website traffic down 40%. Tailwind made money by selling Tailwind Plus and Catalyst to website visitors. Now, with AI assistants knowing all about Tailwind and generating code without the developer ever visiting the documents, the revenue source is disappearing. Hence, the business model of give docs for free and convert on premium is eroding. And this affects anyone who publishes any high quality free content or open source tools. AI benefits from that ecosystem. And here's a keyword, a key phrase, I love it. We've talked about before, but doesn't sustain it. In other words, the AI is the reader of the beautiful human output. This was the very first chat the guy from England was talking about. Doesn't put anything new in. It's only like a, leech coming off of it. It needs the people putting in. But here's the question now. AI is a vacuum cleaner of other people's work, but doesn't plant anything on its own. So the inside the thread was, is there an AI plagiarism proof business model? So this last thing they said is, if we want tools like Tailwind to survive, they need new business models. And I hope they figure it out. And then I saw a blip on like Twitter or Blue Sky where the guy, people were taking him to task. Well, maybe you should have done this and maybe you should have done that. And he said, I had to lay off three of the smartest programmers I've ever met. The guy is in pain. He says, I can't do anything till I find a way to make revenue pay for stuff. So that's a big one where we're seeing, everybody's using this AI, yay, it's for free. We are already seeing the first casualty, which is the freemium model, where people aren't buying the product because they can get basically the product upsell version for free off of the bots.
Oh,
Is
there's a
that,
lot to
Interesting.
unpack with that. Yeah, when you think about that, because
did you read any of that, Lisa?
yeah, I did. I saw that. Yeah, and I think some of the comments too is, either they have to change their model or what can they do to protect themselves. I mean, they themselves might have to have an agent. I mean, I think this is where we're going to see a lot of lawsuits coming because there isn't, we're seeing that in the art industry and music industry. So it's going to be fascinating to see how that also takes place here, where there definitely could be some lawsuits and that plagiarism taking place. I mean, but then how do you prove some of that too? How do they
Well, leave aside
source
the
some of that
lawsuit.
stuff out?
Not everybody's going to try to survive by doing a lawsuit, just
Oh,
what's
great. They're gonna have to change their business model. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot to package there because that's a whole business model mindset, right?
Oh yeah, and I just saw this one this evening. As an open source developer and maintainer, I must confess I have less and less incentive to build stuff for the benefit of the community if it's just getting swallowed by the bot and ignoring me, right? So
Oh,
there's
interesting.
yeah,
Well, then now you've got other people like advancing on the shoulders of the folks who are put the hard work behind building that stuff, you
Well,
know?
let's talk about books. I'm a book writer, right? It's very clear.
There
Oh,
you
by
go.
the way, there's a class action lawsuit against Anthropic for taking in the books. And I literally got an email that said you're listed as the author, one of the authors on one of the books in the lawsuit. And I spent
Whoa.
about an hour. Yeah, it's a real thing. And I had to list, and it was like, it was very thorough, but I had to list all the co-authors of any books or articles and the contact information. And they said, it was against the law for me to not like help my co-authors also, right, get paid out from this lawsuit. So see if I get any money off of that because I was, all of my books. So all of my books are in it. Here's some things you can get. Yeah. And we really worked hard to like make software development very, very, very fine grained. We've got personal software process from Watts Humphreys. We've got extreme programming. We've got TDD. We have my use cases, hexagonal architecture, domain-driven design, right? All this stuff. They're all inside the bot now. And the good news for a developer is we've made it like people are not disciplined enough to do all the stuff we talk about, but the bots are. So it's perfect for the bots to use to generate stuff. So all of my writing, so I am well aware that all of my writing from now on goes straight to the bot and helps other people. And I'm writing my next books knowing that goes straight into the bot.
Wow.
And
Interesting.
it's like
Yeah.
this open source guy. He says, I don't feel like contributing because I know it's just going to the bot. I have to write because that's my livelihood and talk about my writing. But I'm well aware the moment it's published. But my elephant carpaccio exercise.
Yep.
Some people maybe listening to this do and some don't. I know the bots have it. Literally, these guys are coding and they go do Utah. They finish Utah, and Copilot says, would you like the rest of the states now? Here are the tax rates and the rest of the states in the exercise. And
Wow.
they have to like shut it off. No, no, I'm trying to do the exercise. Don't give me the. So like everything I've ever done is inside the bots.
Wow.
Interesting. It's almost like, is that a compliment that your content's so good that it's
Well,
getting
all of
botted
us,
up?
no, all of us did really good work, right? Starting from the 80s to 90s, we have codified, we literally know how to write software these
Yeah.
days, right? Codified it all up. Use cases. Asked him for an Alistair Cockburn use case. You get this, you don't even have to say much. My test a couple of years ago, I said, oh, we're doing an online store and the person's got the stuff in the cart, but just to make it interesting, they need to be able to play with split it across two credit cards. Give me an Alistair Cockburn style use case. And it had it all. It was brilliant. Preconditions, post conditions I never mentioned, things I never mentioned were all in there. And I went,
Wow.
wow. So now you could
So,
just do that and say, split those into user stories. Why not? That's inside of there. Prioritize the user stories, apply hexagonal architecture, use some DDD on the inside, right? And step through it. So that's all the work we've done for the last 30 years is now encoded in something that will remember it.
so that begs the question, based on the Tailwind example, if you write your next book and you put that out there and the bots can just pull that in,
Oh, they
does that
will.
impact does that
Right.
impact book sale prices?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right. Well, and there's
yeah.
also something that's been floating around social media saying you need to change these settings on either Instagram or Facebook to not let like Facebook sneakily or Meta sneakily rolled out some new functionality where you're opted in to your content being used for AI and you have to opt
Right.
out of it. And I literally went through and I was like, oh, what are these steps to opt out? And as you go through the steps, you finally find the little setting, right? And then you get there and it says, well, you have to upload proof that content of yours was used for AI. And so you
Oh
can't even finish filling
no.
it out. And it's like, oh, interesting, like diabolical, right?
I
Like
Yeah.
you
think we're
can
going to
opt
see.
out, but you really can't because you can't prove it.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see more and more of that too, and especially as we're seeing like partnerships, because that was something I had a conversation with one of my colleagues with. Is she was running a search over the holiday for like what kind of food to eat with their family, and in it was actually started to drop links to like Walmart and stores. So that begged the question, and I ran a search on, okay, all these different AI platforms, what partnerships do they have? What investors
Whoa.
do they
Oh,
have?
right.
Yeah, and so it broke that down because I think that's also some of what we're gonna see as well.
Right. Goodness. This is uncharted territory. Because, like, what do
Well,
you
because
do
then,
about that? The laws haven't
right?
caught up.
Yeah, because then they're all going to be
Regulations.
talking and communicating behind the scenes, taking our data, and share, let the do not share button. Yeah, you can click that, but how much of that is protecting us?
Have people
Well, that's a
not
good.
seen Skynet? Do they not know how this ends?
I
Like,
don't. I never saw Skynet. How does it end?
Terminator. Terminator. What was the other one? iRobot.
Yeah,
all of
right.
them. It,
Oh,
it
wait, what
ends
was.
very bleak, Alistair, very bleak for
Yeah.
Well,
humanity.
like I said, run from my course before lunch, and I don't charge you for the course, and come back to for lunch, and I'll teach you how to live with it.
There we are. Well, now we're there, right?
Yeah, we're there. Got to live with
Like
We're
it. Oh
Space
my
there.
God.
Odyssey with Hal.
Oh my God.
So it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
interesting. Also, another factor is how are regulations going to keep up? And now we have other
Yeah.
dynamics like other countries, right? Like you think back to the space race back in
Yeah.
the day. And so now it's like, well, no, we can't limit AI because we've got China and other countries that are now
Yeah.
developing things that we need to be a player on the global scale.
Absolutely.
What does that mean?
Yeah,
And what
yeah.
are the other implications?
I think
Well,
the
that was that
technology.
report that came out. I don't know if you guys saw that AI 2027 report that a couple of professors have put together. And there's actually a video on that too, but it did talk about that because the race between the countries is just going to force that. And we're not going to be able to pause long enough to put those ethical usages around
Yeah.
or the guardrails and security measures that we probably need to and should be, and eventually, we get to super intelligence without that stuff if we just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and it could have a dangerous outcome. So,
Yeah, I'm a little worried for employment scene, like a couple of years from now, 4 or 5 years from now. So
That
we have two
is,
more
yeah.
we have two more topics. Do you want to
okay.
should we stay downbeat and kind of moan and groan for a while, or should we shift over, pretend like none of that happened? And by the way, did you see there's a new flavor of lollipop that's come out? Oh my
Which
goodness.
flavor? Which
Oh my
one?
goodness gracious. And you could get little swirls and colors, and now I feel so much better. I could forget all about the AI doom and gloom. So some
Well,
days it's
there's a
like that, isn't
positive, there's
it?
an upside to it too.
All right, what's the upside? What's the upside?
Well, I think so for instance, I just had a conversation with a friend who has her son's autistic. And there's a lot of platforms supporting, individuals with neurodivergence. So we do see that there is some also benefits,
Oh my God, yeah.
um,
Yeah, when you
right?
get to the medical field,
I was
right?
just going to say the medical is
Pros-
another one where we're seeing some good stuff.
Prosthetics are going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think even just like, discoveries like what was I was reading, there was a medication that it was actually helping to advance. I think it was for diabetes, even for cancer medications, that it's really helping them to, break down thoughts and theories, even looking at science, when we're looking at quantum, it's helping to break down some thoughts in physics and quantum. And so I think, again, it's
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
balance, right?
Yeah. Well, technology does that. Every version of technology does exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
exactly.
let's pick the next two
There's your
topics.
lollipop. There you go.
I
I
want
gave
to
you your
save,
lollipop.
thank you very much. So we have two topics left, and I want to save the best for last. And the best for last is Alisa has been teaching AI to high school students. Blew me away. Like, how do you even begin to do that? I want to save that for the last topic, so we go off with that. And this next one probably doesn't take that long. But I said when we first started this, I said there is no pattern. The dust is in the air. There are no shapes. And I keep reading and reading and reading. And I have uh, a friend, Andres Robalino, who's a good programmer, and he said he's falling behind because he really hates to use it. The other people are using it, and guess what? They produce more code and more bugs, right? And da 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 da. But the question, this is the first time I've seen any kind of a sort of a shape, and it's agent herding. Now, where's my little note about that? And this is Simon Wardley wrote it this way: software engineers will be replaced by computational product realizers, machine collaboration architects, digital workflow synthesizers, I can't even pronounce all these words, technology decision auditors, AI enabled, doesn't matter stuff. Bunch of things I've actually made up. And then the person writes back, who are those? And his answer is AI wranglers slash agentic herders. Okay, so bear that in mind, AI wranglers and agentic herders. And now I'm going to read you a longer thing, and neither you nor the audience nor I am going to understand what I'm saying. I just want you to listen to the music and think about agentic herding or wrangling, okay?
What a term.
Yeah, no, it's going to be. And when I come visit your class, Alisa, you know I'm going to talk about this. Those kids are going to have to learn how to herd agents, agentic wrangling or herding up. Okay, I'll read this to you. I'll go fast. You don't have to understand anything. You'll just hear the presence of multiple agents. Oh, and the other thing, Alisa, that I'm going to say to your high school students is the way to think about AI agents is if you get a bunch of high school students to go and do your work for you, they're pretty flaky. And so, how do you set up a posse of high school students? So, it doesn't matter if it's to do the shopping or if it's to go find out information or take survey results or whatever. It's a faulty system where the agents have faults. And you try to build a reliable system out of faulty agents at high school. Hiring a posse of high school kids to do your whatever for you is going to be my model. So, with that in mind, I'm going to read this thing. Okay, here we go. All right, there's an AI coding approach that lets you run seriously long-running AI agents, hours and days, that ships code while you sleep. I've tried it and I'm not going back. So I've seen two people talk about this. This is why, like, there's a pattern. Run a code. It's called the Ralph Wiggum approach. No idea who Ralph Wiggum is. Here it is in a nutshell. Running a coding agent with a clean slate again and again until its stop condition is met. You have a bash script, set up a bash for loop that runs the number of times, let's say 10, pick a number. Inside the loop, you get the coding agent to work on a feature in the repo until the feature is done. You prompt it to say, if after implementing there's no more work to be done, reply with complete. How do you make it complete? My favorite way is the following. You have a PRD. Now, I think, Alisa, we're in your territory. PRD is a product requirements document, if I'm guessing correctly. Yeah?
Sounds like the acronym.
That's about right. Okay, where's my PRD thingy? Okay. Um, in the prompt, tell the agent to commit its work and append its progress to a local progress.txt file. Committing the work allows future agents to navigate what was done via the Git history. The progress.txt is a standard long-running agent practice. Feed it to the agent via the prompt. Use the word append to make sure it doesn't update previous entries. Keep continuous integration clean. Each commit must pass all tests and types. That means you have to prompt it and be careful. Otherwise, you hamstring future agent runs with bad code and they'll need to bisect to find bugs super nasty. That means building healthy feedback loops is critical to Ralph's success. Two problems immediately emerge with Ralph. The first is that the agent picks tasks which are too large. They don't scope the amount of work correctly and they try things which are too ambitious. It means they run out of context window and end up failing. The second is the agent doesn't know when to stop. To solve this, I use a PRD based approach that formalizes, remember, we're back to formalization, the work I want Ralph to complete in a list of user stories. It's a mix of PRD and a to-do list, where the PRD is a JSON file of user stories with passes, false. I prompt the agent to pick the highest priority feature and only work on that feature. It updates the passing status of the relevant PRD item at the end. This scopes it effectively, meaning it uses only a small part of its context window, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what he's got going in something more like intuitive terms, all of the agents, and this is otherwise known as a blackboard architecture, but all of the agents are running and there's a progress file and they each run off of a PRD and they pick a thing and they stick whatever they did in the progress file and the other agents read it, see what's been done, pick another thing off and stick it on and they can correct each other's bugs. So here's the thing. He says you just set it up, and you run. So you do your product requirements documents. You get the user stories, you have the prioritized user stories, right? And then you do all this thing with the TDD and the continuous integration and the unit tests and the regression and the things. But that shared progress.txt file, which I'm going to guess gets pretty darn long, right? Is there messaging Blackboard for, or whiteboard, I guess, for all of the agents to read. So all the kind of reading and writing into this common shared a memory space, right? I've seen two people talk about this and getting back to the high school students, right? How do you get a posse of high school students to execute something reliably? You've got various kinds of checks on they do on each other. That was a mouthful.
Yeah, I mean,
You were looking really thoughtful there, Alisa.
I know.
What
I
would
was
I
just,
do?
well, because I was just thinking about that because really at that point, it's by that prompt in that process, it's kind of self-correcting itself, right? It's self-managing, self-correcting. Yeah, that's just really kind of that's a good one.
So
That's
you're still
interesting.
monitoring though, right? Still
No, he's
monitoring.
asleep.
It's still
No, he's
monitoring, it's
asleep.
updating,
No,
No,
it's fixing. So it's kind of like so
it's
it's kind of like doing its
it's
self-monitoring,
own
self-monitoring.
data.
but he's
Yeah,
asleep.
it's do
Hmm.
His
what?
point is he's asleep. He's asleep. He says, I do this and I sleep. I do this, I go out for dinner.
So if I'm getting this correctly, then it seems like it's kind of doing its own like data cleansing, data hygiene, like as it's kind
That's the
of
idea.
working, right? So that
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah.
wow, yeah, that's just kind of that's really
So if I were going to go into programming now, like let's say, in 19, I hate to pick numbers on you poor young people here, but in 1988, 1987, 88, I learned Smalltalk because I had a problem I had to do, and only Smalltalk would do the job I was trying to do, right? So I learned it. So I was Mr. High-Tech guy up through the 90s, right? I was like leading edge kind of dude. If I were going to enter the field now, multi-agent or agent wrangling. I think wrangling is more fun term than herding, right?
Right.
Agent wrangling would be my approach. And I would learn about agent wrangling and how to get them to check on each other. And like I say, you have medium unreliable. Let's say they're 1 out of 10 failure, right? That's pretty unreliable. So you have kind of unreliable agents running around doing things. So you have very tight controls and checks on things.
yeah, I mean it helps with data integrity and then it also I mean, really, it's like as if you did peer reviews, right? So your agents are kind of peer reviewing, in a
So
sense,
my
the
my
work, right?
my
Because it's going back and reviewing and fixing and then pulling that back and creating updates, right?
Yeah. My point is it's the first thing I've seen that
Yeah,
makes
that's
sense to
interesting.
me if I was coming in as a hot programmer, agent wrangling is the skill to develop
Yeah.
Hmm.
and the way that they can work with each other to get rid of that faultiness.
Would you say that they're iterating within the process?
He doesn't say that. He makes it look like every agent is one pass, pick a thing, do it.
Ah, okay.
Pick a thing, do it. Pick a thing, do it. Pick a thing, do it. Now, what I didn't see in there was the error course correction. It looked like different agents were picking up. He didn't, there's some stuff missing, which is what are they putting in the progress.txt file when the next agent comes along and reads it?
Right.
Does it ever go back and fix up what the previous agent done, or we're
Well,
assuming that each
that's
agent did its
yeah.
work correctly? I want to work on, if I was coming into this now, and I'm saying this for anybody who's watching this who maybe is, young and energetic, I would work on agent wrangling with the assumption that they're making mistakes and having ways for them to double check on each other in order to reduce the failure rate.
It's
So just
well, right. It
like a big
could. That's what I was gonna say because it could reduce hallucination and the limitations that we know that the AI agents have. One, but two, Maria, that was a good, interesting statement you made as far as the iteration piece of that. Because if they're finding things, and again, back to I'd have to know more about like how it's like if it found a problem and you had a fix. Would that how would that cycle in, incrementally to like re-implement a fix?
Yep. They're doing that now. Like you said, they'll find the bug, they'll pull it out. That
Yeah,
they
no, that's
can
that's
do that.
fascinating. Yeah, I agree with you. That's
Yeah,
definitely a good approach
yeah.
versus the way some of
That-
that stuff is being built now.
so that's my first piece of pattern that I'm recognizing in all of this dusty room that we're in.
Let the record show.
Let the record show on January
You heard it
8th.
here, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, on January 8th, Simon Wardley and I agree. Agent wrangling is the skill of the future.
Well, very nice. That's a
Yeah,
good
that's cool.
gem. Thank you, Alistair.
All right,
Yeah.
Alisa, we're saving it for you. You taught, I can't even believe it, high school student. You've done this just first class so far. What
Yeah,
for?
so yeah, I kind of got wrangled into doing this. And so yeah, so I'm teaching a 7-week curriculum to high school or teenage age students, high school age students. And ironically enough, teaching the first class, here, all of us, we've done tons of training, certification courses, stuff like that, and I was probably more nervous
Oh my
with
God.
this with
Of
this
course, high
demographic
school
than
students were
any.
not used to it. So she asked me if I wanted to come. I go, oh no, keep me away from high school students. I don't know what to say to high school
It's a
students.
tough crowd. I did
I,
this like a few years ago. It's a
Oh my
tough
God.
yeah,
crowd. I would ask
right.
a question. I would ask a question. This is a virtual class. I'd wait 30 to 40 seconds, absolutely nothing. Then something would appear in the chat. The little chat would go blink. And I'd be like, what's this? Like they weren't even
Oh,
speaking. They were texting. Like they
well,
were
this is
typing.
the good news is there's only 7 people and they're in a room together. So it's face to
That's good.
face. Somebody's like paying some money or poking them with his pencil or whatever to get them in the room, but they're there, kind of.
Well, and so I have to say, interestingly enough, Rhea, I was kind of expecting that because we know, like training adults, you get a lot of you ask questions, crickets, but it's a topic they're really interested in. So there was a lot of
Ah,
engagement.
love that.
Um, and it was interesting because they're all at kind of different levels, because you think this demographic, right? They're more apt to it, using it. But it was really fascinating too, just kind of their thought process around it. Like some of them are very like they like the technology, they think that has a place and a purpose, but I think back to usage, their concern is they don't want to lose their voice, they don't want to lose their creativity, and some of them, have interest in careers that they feel like it will could potentially, make non-existent. So
Oh,
um
wow.
yeah, like some of them want to be developers or graphic designers or things like that. And so musicians and art interests. And so there is definitely some concern with that. So it's really, while um, they grew up with technology trust, and a generation of that, there also is their attitude is kind of in some regards against it in some ways. So it's interesting because I feel like there's going to be a little bit of a divide because they're interested in like they know like what games, video games that they play are AI driven ones and which ones aren't and where they come from, and they're a very knowledgeable demographic as far as all of that. And so I think that there's certain things like songs that are AI generated, and because they talk about that all the time, like, oh, this song has some AI components. And so I think there really is that. And then the other part of the discussion was how do they fact check what's truth and not truth? Because
Mm.
that's a big thing for them. They're getting, they have a healthy distrust now because, not being able to know what is AI generated and not AI generated.
So what did you do
Right.
in the class? It's a 1 hour class. How did
Yeah.
you
So
like,
the
how
first
did
30
that
minutes.
unfold?
Yeah, we have some discussion. So the first class was really just about, AI itself. A big interest of this for me was the security and safety for this demographic, because as we've seen, on the AI gone wrong, there was a couple of cases where there's been some suicides and the usage of the AI, and young kids having so much kind of trust and treating it like a friend and making it very conversational.
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of dangers behind that too. So there has to be some real awareness and safety and security measures. And ironically enough, I presented a technology plan to the parents ahead of time for them to fill out so that I had understood their technology usage approach and plan at home. And some of that was also to drive those conversations for the parents because, the kids were way more tech savvy than a lot of the parents.
Yeah, I bet.
So, yeah, so for them, it's like we're in the industry, we can keep up with a lot of this stuff, but parents, they're just surviving every day or paying too much for groceries in the grocery store, right? They're just trying to survive. And they're not necessarily able to keep up with all this stuff with their kids and make sure that they're safeguarded. So that's really kind of what drove my commitment to this because
So
it's an area of concern. So
so did you actually have them do any like AI type exercises?
we did. So the first class, first really just kind of wanted them to recognize how, because we talk about AI and we've got these large language models and everything now, but AI is not really for us, it's not anything too new, right? I mean, it's been around for a while. So we were kind of like, I wanted them to understand what AI was in their daily life. So we kind of talked, so they had to kind of, notate like Siri and Alexa, and even one of the kids was like, my Roomba, you know. Um, and then I had them put like when they thought like what year that technology was actually launched
Mm.
in consumer based usage. So we kind of talked about some of that and then just talked about some examples and then talked about the models and what are they best used for. And then the second half of that, we did a Mad Libs actually to illustrate hallucination because some of that is, yeah, AI is artificial intelligence, but it's still not as intelligent as we want to give it credit for, And so there's a lot of bias, and as we're seeing in like AI going wrong topics, which we talked about some of those. I mean, Grok just got in trouble with, some of the photos that it was releasing and some of the content. We've seen like, racist comments and tweets and wrong and for misinformation, like Canadian Airlines had misinformation that was given to a customer about their bereavement policy. I think it was Deloitte too had issued someone just used AI to write a report and had misinformation in it that they had, sold to a client. So, I mean, we're seeing all these cases in the industry. So we kind of talked about some of that, but the Mad Libs we did, so the students had to just if anyone's ever done a Mad Lib, you just make up words. So, like I, went to the sky, and they just put some random word. And then I had a prompt written for them, and then they had to put just their words in, and it was like an announcement. And so the prompt came back from AI, and it was, the point of it was that it gave an announcement that could sound really real, but as they know, it was made up. So
Ah,
that's where you've got to have a healthy, right? And then we talked about, okay, how do you fact check? How do you fact check the information? And interestingly enough, they came with some really especially one of the students, she was like, using credible sources, like academic journals or,
yeah.
government websites and, things like that. How does this generation fact check with so much, content or fake content
Oh my
out
God,
there?
yeah.
Right. Well, did you guys see I think it was a tweet where this guy said technology has gone too far. My roommate is logged out of his light bulbs because he forgot his password. Like it's too far. It's gone too
Oh
far.
my God. Oh my God.
That's happened to me where I
You
couldn't
got
turn
you
off a
got
light
logged.
because I couldn't log in.
No,
Yeah.
can't log in. I got logged out of my light bulbs. Now,
Right.
and I was going to say, you of all people, Maria, are like the most likely to, and you actually have.
I've run into this where like
Have
it
you?
wasn't connecting to Bluetooth and it's like I'm trying to turn off this light or turn on this light. I
Oh
can't.
my.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my.
understand.
Oh, the pain
That's
is
a far
real.
cry from me being the remote control for my parents turning the TV off and on, right? I just pull out my cell phone and turn the TVs on and off.
Yeah, but what's tough when your lights actually someone got me a present of some colored light bulbs and stuff. I go, no, I have to download an app. I'm not doing it. I don't want any more apps on my phone. I don't want to have an app for everything. Yeah,
There's a line there somewhere.
there is. That's very cool.
So, guys, we've talked about a lot today. Let's look
Yeah.
at final thoughts.
Oh, geez.
Alistair, do you want to
No,
kick
don't
us
put me,
off?
no, don't
No,
put me on the spot.
Alisa,
Give me a
final
moment.
thoughts.
Give me a moment. Give me a
All
moment.
right.
I know I was gonna say that was a lot. I don't even know.
That's a lot.
I'm
No,
still
I just want to,
processing the last conversation of the hurting of agents. My mind is just like you just blew me with that one.
oh
I,
yeah,
So
we're
I
good.
like that. That's fascinating to think about as well. But then
yeah.
also, at what point does it just take off without us, where we're not needing
Well,
to?
next to us, someone's going to write the book on how to do agentic wrangling, and that'll go into the bot, and then the bot will start doing the agentic wrangling using the contents of that book, right? Because that's what we were saying. I would say for me, because I came in with the agentic wrangling or herding as a topic, so it was hot. I like it. I think it's interesting. I think as an engineer, it's intellectually interesting. It leads forward. It goes on for very, very, very long time. And if I had the right energy, that's where I'd go. So I kind of came in with that. I am just forever blown away about Alisa and the teaching the high school stuff. And it just like fascinates me. So
And
that's my
I certainly,
takeaway is the teaching, we're teaching high school kids this stuff.
well, I think to me, there's just so much. I don't know, like when we were talking about a little bit of the doom and gloom part of that, I know like with the hurting of the agents and stuff, but and I know there's a lot of fear and stuff out there, but I still just personally feel like there still has to be human involvement in this. This stuff is not ready. Again, it's companies are like a toddler with a bucket of
Candy.
candy, and
True.
AI is still like a toddler, not fully able to function, right? And I think that
Mhm.
there's with the limitations, I think we'll get there, but
Mhm.
I hope kind of to the point you were talking about, Maria, that we can get our arms wrapped around this race that we're in, to get some governance and some guidelines and some security and guardrails built in, and really, and I don't know, maybe there's associations or collectives of individuals or companies that help to start jumping in and safeguarding, and really pushing companies and corporations to be ethical. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, we're the consumers. We have to voice that for them
Yeah.
to respond, or take notice of that, because they can't just. We're not pawns, right? We're not just for them to just take our money, or just so consumers, right? We have a voice, and where we spend our money and how we spend our money, I think is going to be really important. I think that goes back to when I pulled that looked that up as far as like the partnerships and collaborations, because then it's going to be, do I want to align myself and my money and my dollars that I spend with a company that I have aligns with my belief system.
Right. Well, and to piggyback off that, this reminds me of years ago. I was working with a client in Chicago, and this topic came up talking to someone from marketing, and we ended up presenting at an Agile conference. It was called Customer Who. We're like, Customer Who? Like, do we even have the customer in mind? Because what had
Right.
happened was
Oh,
he was
wow.
telling me about how they had launched a bunch of new features to a product line, and there were zero features that people wanted. They took away features people regularly used, and it was a multi-million-dollar blunder where
Ugh.
he literally had to personally fly all over Europe and meet with customers in person, come back to the Chicago office and say, guys, they had to undo all the new features and relaunch the existing features that were there before. And I was so grateful that the client was like willing to let us speak on this. And the presentation was called Customer Who? Like,
I
are we
love
even thinking
customer
about the
who. I
customer?
love this customer
Like,
who type.
and there's so many
Yeah.
layers between these large
Yeah.
companies and the customer. And so my takeaway from today is really just ruminating on where's the customer focus. And
Customer who.
right. And if you look exactly.
I
And
love it.
if you look at customer service today, barely there, right?
No.
Just trying to get
Horrible.
any in-person customer service. And 3 times recently, I've been in stores looking to purchase a product. They had the wrong price and it was like in the wrong spot, or they had the wrong price listed. And they're like, oh no, actually, this is 10, 20, however much more than the price. And I'm like, oh, I would really appreciate if you could honor the price that's literally posted right there. And they refuse to. They're like, oh no, like I can't. I'm not authorized. I'm not
Oh,
able to. 3 times. And I'm like, what happened to the customer being right? What happened to honoring something that you told a customer what something was? And now we're getting into not just leveraging technology for what that we were, like Alisa said earlier, like we were told the reason for AI is to be efficient, right? To be able to do more, to automate. But now, are we doing it to screw over the customer? Is it to squeeze more dollars out of the customer?
right. Right.
Or what happened to serving the customer? What
Yeah.
happened to adding so much value that they tell all their friends and they come back and they never
Uh,
leave?
we do not see the linkage between AI adoption and happier user customers. We're not seeing that link. So I guess, you said that last time. I remember that. Maybe that's going to be my takeaway is anchoring on this gap between the people who internally say they want it, but we're not seeing a benefit to the buyer user type person.
Right.
Well, and I think, yeah, and I think brand management, they're not securing their brand management, as well as like you said, the customer service aspect of it. It is, I mean, I think of someone had said that I've recently talked to someone who's working with real estate agents, and they're like, yeah, we see that AI, there's a lot of benefit, but the last thing you want is as an agent or a salesperson to not be talking to your customer.
Right.
Right.
Like when your job is getting commission and making sales, you don't want someone else doing that job. But it's like it seems like companies are just kind of doing the same thing. They're just letting all of the AI technology be their front lines with their customers. So
Even when we're doing our wrap up, pick a single thing, we are still like building on each other. So the poor viewers are going to have so many points out of this discussion. I guess I'm
so,
happy for them.
so next, actually next talk, I do have a topic for next talk. One of my friends reached out to me who works in fintech, and she was talking about she asked the question that the AI, so we've got chatbots, and if somebody goes to your company and says, hey, do you guys sell giraffes, as a silly example, and the AI agent like can't answer that or doesn't provide that. But if you get like 500 of your customers asking that same question, how are the agents or how are the companies able, because that, like, the innovation aspect of that is lost. So if these agents are hallucinating or not really capturing the real information, is there lost opportunity of innovation in the way that some of this the technology is structured, especially when it comes to customer service
Or
or
are they
customer
aggregating?
support?
Are they aggregating the feedback though?
Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
So yeah.
Bookmarked for next time.
Bookmark for next time. Awesome.
Thank you, Alisa, Alistair. The discussion continues.
Yeah.
Thriving with AI. How do we do it?
Oh
One of
my
the
God.
things I think as just an overall takeaway is being knowledgeable, being informed, and learning more. Being open to learning about what's happening, keeping our heads above the ground on these things, and seeing where that dust settles.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Wonderful.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye. Until next time.